Hey everybody, I'm Mike Levy. We're here at Cannondale's R&D Test Lab, and I'm here with Steve Extance, Suspension Engineer Manager, and he has some pretty cool stuff that we're going to look at. What are you holding here, Steve?
So this is a prototype back from obviously the Volvo Cannondale days.
Yeah. What year?
I want to say that this is roughly 98, 99, something like that.
Yeah.
So this actually is a cross-country suspension prototype that uses, I believe this is the inner telescoping assembly from like a Moto Freeride or something similar.
Yeah.
And the idea with this was to completely replace pivot bearings and have a kind of one-piece stiff rear end to give you the pedaling efficiency of a hardtail, but also give you the suspension that we all love on XC bikes today.
So we saw a few years ago, well, 5-6 years ago now, some companies using things like rails and things like that. So this is essentially sort of the same idea. Like this would allow you to determine wheel path. It gives you your chassis rigidity, all that, and it's using the square stanchion tubes that you find in a lefty or head shock.
Correct. So there's 4 packs of 88 needle bearings in here as well.
Okay.
Use a traditional shock because it was just a little too complex to try to adapt a fork damper and the rates that it needed to provide to actually support a rear end.
Yeah. Okay. And travel-wise, what are we looking at? Like 2.5, 3?
Something like that. Probably 50, 60 millimeters max.
Probably not much.
Not much.
Okay. Very different. But using again square stanchion tube. So what are we looking at here? Right.
So this is, this was done probably right after Lefty actually went into production for the first time.
So year-wise, what time?
Oh, this is probably 2001, 2 kind of time frame.
Yeah.
So of course, Lefty was really exciting, and everybody started focusing on like, well, shit, what if everything's single-sided? What if everything's lefty? Why not rear ends?
Yeah.
So this was kind of a very crude mock-up to kind of test the idea, get some ideas, and see if it was feasible at all. So this actually does use a lefty-esque, but it is from a Moto 150 downhill fork, which was...
That was the dual-sided downhill fork.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it still has 4 packs of 88 needle bearings, and then we use a crazy headset assembly as a
pivot,
upper pivot to allow this to rotate, and then it's a single pivot here with a pivot near the axle.
And the front end is a original Jekyll.
It's the original Jekyll front end.
It had the threaded collar to adjust
the ride height. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, totally. Yeah. Which is obviously not needed. For this.
No, not for this.
Yeah.
So this thing had its drawbacks. It functioned, but obviously one chainstay wasn't quite enough to deal with chain loads. So but it was cruised around the parking lot, but not much more.
Tell us about this, Steve.
So this is one of the first true Gemini prototypes that was raced on the downhill circuit for a while. So this would receive a standard shock here for your main suspension travel, and then these 2 smaller shocks controlled the pivot of the axle. So not only did you have vertical wheel travel, but you also had reverse wheel travel.
So essentially the axle can move in a window of sorts.
Correct.
So where this is up here, this might be fully extended, but it might also be going into its stroke.
Right. So these were tuned to be pretty firm off the top, so you didn't have crazy pedal feedback, but this bike in a straight line over small bumps would not drop any speed. It was pretty amazing.
Now we saw the Volvo Cannondale team use a more advanced version of this for at least 1 season, maybe 2 seasons. That was the Gemini DH bike.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah.
So that used, rather than these kind of door hinge looking dampers, it used 2 shocks, 2 proper shocks.
Amazing. You don't know till you try. So that was a look back at some interesting projects in Cannondale's history. If you want to see more videos, click here. And if you want to subscribe, click down there.